All right, joining me now from Yahoo Sports NFL, co-host of the Football 301 podcast, it's Nate Tice. Nate, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's great to meet you, basically.
I'm trying to get back into the NFL after some years away. After Tom Brady left the Patriots, my dad passed away that year. We used to watch every game together. So it's like the Patriots faded away. Wasn't watching games every Sunday. Tom Brady leaves, goes and wins the Super Bowl with the Bucs. But I haven't really watched the NFL as closely the last 4-5 years. But this year, I'm rejoining my friends, high school friends, fantasy football league. I'm trying to make a commitment to watching NFL every single week. So Nate, bringing you on to talk a little bit of NFL to get back in the huddle here. So I'm going to ask you some questions to get back into the NFL here, starting off with the Kansas City Chiefs, because I listened to your latest episode on Football 301. I noticed all three of you had the Chiefs ranked as the number 10 offense in the entire NFL. And so they were, last time I'm watching, number 1 during their season, number 2, number 3, best offense in the NFL, typically every single season behind Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. What's gone behind that decline from, top 1, top 2, top 3 into number 10 on your rankings?
It's a weird thing when you have the same play caller and the same quarterback. Like, you start getting all these different iterations. Actually, the Patriots with, of course, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are probably the best example of this. This is, it's pretty rare to get a dynasty, and then we just get them back to back in the NFL somehow, some way. But with Mahomes in this offense, it's really just, all right, what are the surrounding pieces? And last year, they faced a rut where they just had no explosive plays at all. They had nobody to take the top off the defense for a deep ball, but they also had nobody that could create with the ball in their hands. So it was death by 4 and 5 yard gains. And it was this weird, really, statistically, when I look at the NFL, I look at efficiency and I look at explosive plays. I think the best maybe comparison in basketball would be like 2-point, at the rim percentage, and then 3-point percentage. Like, that's kind of like what you kind of look at for that. And what the Chiefs have gone is like, we don't want to shoot outside 5 feet. We're not shooting any threes, and we're just going to make everything at 5 feet. But that's really hard, because then if you face a team, I don't know, like the Eagles, that tackle really well, you can't gain anything. It's 2 yard gain. Now it's 2nd and 8. And next play, it's 3rd and 9. And, now we have a terrible left tackle because we had injuries at the offensive line and we have nobody out there. So it's just kind of this trickle down effect of this tightness of this offense. Rashee Rice was hurt last year. He was a receiver for the Chiefs. He was really good the first month. I think he's on the, I wouldn't say cusp of stardom, but maybe that half step below that. I think he's a very good player. Once he got out, they had no ways to generate these explosive plays. So really, it's more of a question.
Was he the guy supposed to replace Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, and he's a different style, but yes, in a way, he is supposed to. In the weirdest way, he's almost a Travis Kelce / Tyreek Hill replacement. I know Travis is still on the team, but he's my age. And that's my barometer now for old, is I'm 36.
Celebrity.
Yeah. So it's like, are you my age? Old. And then we're good. We're good at that. I'm right at the cutoff there. So and that's where he's really good horizontally, and then taking the ball and getting vertically afterwards with the ball in his hands, as opposed to maybe Tyreek, who's good at that, but then down the field is where Tyreek really excels. So really where that number 10 ranking is like, they get the benefit of the doubt that they're automatically going to be in that top 10 because they have Patrick Mahomes, because they have Andy Reid. It's more just they have questions. So it's funny that we all ranked them 10th, because we all did it from the same line of thinking. It's like, they deserve to be in here, but I don't know what it's going to look like this year because they just have questions. Having said all that, they drafted a left tackle named Josh Simmons in the first round. He dropped because of injury concerns. And then all of a sudden I thought he wasn't going to come back till the middle of this year, and he's already starting for them and playing. That's a total narrative changer, because I think what a lot of us will think that, you need explosive plays, you need the receivers for it. You have to block it up first to get there. So if he can play and just be average, it's better than what they had last year, which was outright terrible. So that's kind of a math changer a little bit for them. So they get the top 10 because of the quarterback, because they can be very efficient. It's all about how explosive they can be, and that'll change their ranking based on how the season goes.
It's interesting, like with the Chiefs, because I always think of like Mahomes and Steph Curry, kind of like, NFL, biggest stars, most dynamic players, hardest to stop, right? And with the Warriors, they've had a little bit of a dip offensively where they're not, best of the best, number 1 in offensive rating or number 2 in offensive rating every single year in the NBA. They're still great with Stephen Curry on the floor, but not quite. Other teams have caught up with the way NBA 3-point percentage, 3-point rate has caught up. The Warriors, it's like more normal, like what they do with their 3-pointers. It's not like it was when the dynasty was birthed. They've had personnel losses, like you're mentioning. The Chiefs did. They lose Klay Thompson. They lose, Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston's guys. These players that were part of the peak dynasty years, and now they're more,
or draft picks don't work out, like Wiseman.
Yes,
like
exactly.
Yep. Sorry to cut you off.
There's,
but yeah, it's a great comparison.
There's busts, right? And so, like, part of it with the NBA is the league catching up. Is there an element of that with the Chiefs as well, with evolution of the game and all, or is it more just strictly personnel with the Chiefs?
It's more personnel, because what Andy Reid as a play designer is almost old school in a way. It's never been a very even though the numbers are good, it's not like a downfield attacking offense. It's very horizontal. It's you hear the term West Coast offense, and that's kind of been bastardized over the years. But he is a true blue West Coast offense guy, and that offense thrives on attacking horizontally, catching and running. And you need a pristine quarterback. Mahomes has just dropped this new element into that kind of attack. So it's not really that like defenses know what Andy Reid wants to do. It's like, can you stop it? Because he's such a good play designer. So it's not really they got caught up, to answer your question. It's more just that they need to reload their personnel a little bit. It's more on, I'm more looking at Brett Veach, their GM, than anybody, going like, all right, what do you got? Like, all right,
so he's had misses. He has, like the Warriors you're talking about.
Yeah, like even in free agency, they signed Jawan Taylor, who plays right tackle for them. And big money. It was a big deal when they signed him to, and it kind of surprised a lot of people, including me. I was like, tackles are going to get paid. It's like, it's hard to find size and guys that can play offensive line in free agency. But it was just, all right, what do they know? Like, what do they know that I don't? Because I thought he was okay. And actually, I feel like I won the argument. Not that anyone was arguing with me, that he actually is just okay and got overpaid. But just little things like that. They just never addressed these certain spots. And at first it was like, well, we got number 15. We got Mahomes. He'll clean it up for us. And now it's starting to catch up where it's like the offensive line. It's like, well, you still need these guys to block, or you still need another pass catcher to work out. So it's been a few Band-Aids last year, like DeAndre Hopkins and Juju Smith-Schuster at receiver. Like, oh, that's not really, they missed on Sky Moore, who's a receiver from Western Michigan. He hasn't done anything in the league. So like these misses have led to Band-Aids, and now they're trying to fill the Band-Aids and just go, okay. So to answer your question, it's more personnel than anyone catching up to scheme or anything like that.
It's funny, like, talking about the Chiefs last year, like, out of the corner of my eye last year, I know they go 15-1 and they have a ton of close games. It's just crazy how a team that has this great record with Mahomes.
I wrote about it halfway through the season. I'm like, their baseline is way higher than people realize. It's more just, it's the ceilings that they can reach, and of course with the Chiefs, it's Mahomes and Taylor Swift, when you see those games. But the defense and Steve Spagnuolo and Chris Jones have become just as big of a story as Mahomes, or just as important as Mahomes has been the last couple of years. So that's the thing too, is like, well, the offense is dropping off. It's like, yeah, but the defense has risen. So it's kind of that it's like, as opposed to being number 1 offense and the 20th defense, now it's like the number 9 offense and the number 9 defense. So it's more of a complete team now. So it's just, it's a little narrative shift for people.
It's like inverse of the early years of the Patriots dynasty, where first it was elite defense and, average offense, game management, Tom Brady era. And then they become this elite all-time offense, and their defense can't figure out how to get stops. It's the opposite of that. So now with Mahomes, we'll see if, Rashee Rice and all of them get back to have a top 5, top 10 offense. But it seems like you're saying they don't need to have that to be a great team. Now, moving on to the next topic, Baker Mayfield. He was ranked 50th on the NFL 100. Now, last time I watched Baker Mayfield, the dude sucked. Wasn't that good. He got traded, I know, midseason. He
was in Cleveland probably when you last watched him. Huh?
He was in Cleveland, yes. I know he got traded to Carolina. He was never any good. Very average, below average crap. How do you improve? What happened? Is this for real?
He's always okay. Yes and no. He's not to the top 10 rankings some people have him now, or anything of that sort. He's more like a quality starter, like just a fine starter.
Is 50th too high? 50th feels like outrageous to me.
That's really high, especially some of the quarterbacks he's above and all that. But I mean, if you look at his stats, and that's the thing, that's what's really hard with football too, is stats lie. but you also have to use stats to kind of like paint a picture. So it's like
41 touchdowns. Like he has a
and
lot
you
of
see that
touchdowns. Big
top 10
plays.
quarterback, right?
Yeah.
41 touchdowns. Right. Exactly. So it's that the Bucks are really fun. Like they're going to be, I think, a top 10 offense this year. Why I want to talk about the whole offense is why I think Baker excelled last year. He's got a really good receiver room. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. They just drafted another guy, Mecca Ibuka from Ohio State, that I really like. They also have talented running backs. Bucky Irving, Rashad White is actually a guy that's a nice little number 2. But then they have a really, really, really good offensive line. And that's why Baker looked like Baker last year, is because Baker's worst tendencies are he feels a little bit of pressure. He goes into chaos mode. Like, all right, I'm bailing the pocket and let's street ball this a little bit.
That's the Baker I remember.
Yeah, and he still has those tendencies. It's just that when in Cleveland, say, that was half the offense, you know what I mean? Like there's more was on Baker. Now it's like Baker's got 15 different bailout options. And when he's doing that, it's like, you know, the first and second option were already really good. And then he bails out and it's like, oh, who am I going to scramble and throw to? Mike Evans. Okay, that's fun. You know, so it's the surrounding elements. And I think that's what's really hard. Quarterback discussions we could do 20 hours on it, but quarterbacks is hard. It's the most important position, but it's not the only position that matters. You know, like every position impacts the other position. If it's a big pie chart, the quarterback is maybe half of it, but the play caller, the offensive line, the skill guys are the other half of that. So Baker is at least his baseline as a top 18, top 20 quarterback. But when you get him a top 3 surroundings, yeah, then he looks like how he looked last year. So he's not as bad as he was in Cleveland. He definitely is a little bit better, but he's not a top 50 player in the NFL to me. I think it's somewhere in between that. But yeah, the Bucks offense is very, very good.
It just seems crazy to me to have him 50th because I look again. I did not watch a Bucks game last year. 13 fumbles, led the NFL. 16 interceptions, led the NFL. He took 40 sacks with what you're saying was still a great offensive line.
Offensive line.
Like on the surface, I'm seeing these basic numbers. I'm like, he's still a turnover machine. And he's still taking a lot of sacks. Like, is it just because of like how much of the success of that offense is like yards after catch? Is it like the talent of these receivers versus him making like throws through tight windows and all that? Because on the surface, I just don't buy it. I don't buy it at all.
You're right. It's a lot of it's the receivers too, because he had. God, I wish I knew this off the back of my hand because it's a good stat. But no one gained more first downs off receiver screens than Baker has in like the last decade. Like the receiver screens were
dink and dunk, a lot of short
throw to
throws,
screen,
yeah.
and that's where the offensive line helps too, because those guys get out and block. And so if you have an athletic offensive line, they really open things up. That's also why Liam Cohen, the offense coordinator, who has did some really nice things for the Bucks last year. He's a Sean McVay guy. Now he's the head coach of the Jags. Why I'm kind of like, I'm optimistic, but I'm also going like, is he bringing the Bucks offensive line with him? Because that really, offensive line play is boring, but it matters so much. And and honestly, it makes everybody's lives so much easier. I always say the offensive line is the floor lifter, and then the skill guys are the ceiling lifter. So like that is when you're in that Bucks offense, it was like, oh, let's just run this basic play. Wow, it went for 6 yards. That was easy, right? Is because, yeah, you got an all-pro at center and all-pro at left tackle. Like, that makes it a lot easier. So that's why I'm just kind of like, they get a lot of help, the quarterback and the play caller. So, like, yeah, those screens, like, he gained the most first downs, the highest success rate, the most EPA, which is expected points added. All those numbers were just off the charts with the Bucks last year. So it's like straight dropbacks. He was more like good, stuff that he actually controlled, but not otherworldly, like 41 touchdowns and a top 50 ranking in the NFL 100.
I look forward to seeing where Jalen Hurts gets ranked this year because I know he was 3 2 years ago, and I think he fell to 14 last year. Then the Eagles win the Super Bowl, and he'll probably be in the top 10, if not the top 5.
High.
Yeah, too high. And you say too high. I mean, look, Jalen Hurts, he plays his role for the Eagles well, from what I can see. With him, did the Eagles win last year like because of him, despite him? Where are you at with Jalen Hurts and what it could mean for the Eagles this year?
Did the Warriors win back in the day because of Harrison Barnes? You know, that's
a good way to put it.
That's kind of Jalen Hurts'
Which
role
is
in that
crazy to
offense.
say, because like you said, quarterback is the most important position, but it's not the only position, right?
The Eagles, and this is a credit to their GM, Howie Roseman, who gets a lot of praise from everybody. Uh, they've created one of the first quarterback and head coach independent teams that I've seen in the NFL where they win games no matter what the head coach and the quarterback do. Because it was that defense was outstanding last year. I thought it would be good, but it was even better than I was expecting. And again, he probably has the top offensive line, at the very worst top three, but last year was probably the best. Has got an all-pro receiver, an all-pro running back, a Pro Bowl quality number 2 receiver, and a Pro Bowl quality tight end. That's a lot of help before I even get to the quarterback. So they have created this offense, and this is another thing too. When a quarterback is there for a while and has different offense coordinators, play caller matters a lot, and they're going to have a lot of input. But then once the quarterback's established, they have a lot of say on what gets called too. And no matter what they run, no matter who's calling plays, it's the Jalen Hurts offense, and that's a compliment and derogatory at the same time, because he's limited as a passer. He's really good at throwing certain routes, go balls and corners, stuff to the outside. But if I were to ask him to do stuff that Lamar Jackson does as a thrower, or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow as a thrower, he's not even looking in the same direction as those guys are. So that's where I think people that analyze this stuff, me, some of your old coworkers at the Ringer, when we watch this, that's where it's hard with Jalen, is because he's good in his role, but I think a lot of guys could do what he does. So that's where, your question kind of going like how much of an impact he is. I brought up that pie chart. He's more like a 25-30%, for like the Eagles, to me anyways. He's good at what he does, but they've streamlined everything. He doesn't have a handle on, the quarterback stuff too, is that some guys in some offenses will dictate everything. Picture Tom Brady would be a great example, or Peyton Manning back in the day, Drew Brees back in the day, point things out, getting everybody set. They don't do any of that for him. So that's kind of like where I'm like, I can only get so high with him, even if he's a Super Bowl MVP. Last year, he struggled for the second half of the year. It's just that everyone remembers the Super Bowl. And like there was time I went on a Philadelphia show and they asked me if he should be benched and traded after the year, and then they ripped off 3 playoff wins and went to and won the Super Bowl. So I was like, now it's really easy to say because they again won the Super Bowl, but the journey there was not pretty. So it's kind of a hard discussion to say, yeah, quarterback matters a lot, but it's just a different math and equation with the Eagles and Hurts.
Totally. It's interesting, like what you're talking about with the way they've built their team out. It reminds me of what Rick Carlisle said on Caitlin Cooper's podcast. Carlisle,
Yes.
Pacers head coach, he said a quote. He said, "The NBA game has now become a play hard league. It's not just being top heavy with stars. Roster construction is changing. It's become more important to have more good players than be top heavy with 2 or 3 great players to get all the touches." Is there an element of that with the Eagles, and could that become a trend league wide in the NFL?
I wouldn't even say, I was going to say that is the trend. That is the NFL. The NFL is a matchup league, and not just, our best player, but more, all right, we have a B+ receiver, but you have a C- corner. So we're just going to attack you all day with that. And we're going to pick at it. Playoff basketball really translates well to week NFL play. As far as like, shoot, I just watched Mike Conley get picked on over and over and over. But that's the NFL. But it's the good teams anyways. You have a right guard that can't pick up a blitz. All right, well, we're going to keep blitzing them, and we're going to keep running all these games and stunts at that right guard and we're going to get some sacks out of it. So that quote was amazing to me, because that is what the NFL is. It's matchup league, and it's the best coaches just go, okay, we're equal here. We're equal here. Oh, you suck at linebacker, and we got Jahmyr Gibbs at running back, and we're going to run routes on him over and over and over. So there was a lot to that. And even pass catchers is kind of something I've been trying to grapple with. Do you need a true number 1, or do you need 3 guys that can all validly get open consistently, which is kind of like what Carlisle was talking about as well. So really, to answer your question, yeah, it's not just the Eagles, it's just the entire NFL, and it's kind of always been like that. And I think the good coaches know that secret sauce as opposed to the other coaches maybe banging their head against the wall sometimes.
Kind of related to the conversation there, like with Carlisle and NFL teams building out, exploiting matchups. Part of that is coaching too, best game planners and all that. And that makes me think about the next team I want to talk about, the Lions, because last year they're one of the best, stories in the entire league. They get this really nice team, and then they, fall short in the playoffs, and then they lose both their coordinators. Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator, left for the Bears. Aaron Glenn, their defensive coordinator, left for the Jets. This has only happened 2 other times in the last 15 years. The Eagles, after 2022, lost both of their coordinators. The Bengals, after 2013, lost both of theirs. To me, on the surface, this feels like reason for concern with the Lions for repeating what they did last year or building on what they did last year. Am I overly concerned just by looking at this on the surface, or am I in the right here?
No, you're in the right. I've been trying to grapple with this too. We just did our NFC North preview this week, and I actually was the only one that had under. Their win total right now is 10.5, and I picked under. I said that they could still make the playoffs, be a 9-8, 10-7 type team, but to me, it's that those coordinator drop offs, especially Ben Johnson, the offense coordinator, going to the Bears. It's more about who they replaced him with. John Morton, who's been around. He's been a long time assistant, but he's coordinated one offense ever called plays, and it was terrible. It was the 2017 Jets, but it's not so much his fault as like a personnel kind of thing. Kind of just Ben Johnson, though, I hold in high esteem, and that's why I think no matter who came to replace him, there's going to be a drop off. This Lions team, though, is like they've done a really good job of just accumulating talent, which talent matters. Talent can overcome bad coaching to an extent. But I do think that, I'm not saying Morton's automatically going to be bad, but yada, yada, yada. Lions fans are really sensitive right now because they're finally like, we're winning and now you guys are criticizing us. I'm like, yeah, that's what happens. You're at the top now.
Sounds like me with the Kings. They're having their light the beam season. I'm like, guys, this isn't enough. Like, you got to make some changes. This is going to fall short. And now I get Kings fans years later like, well, you know what? We still hate you, but you're right.
Right. Expectations change. Yeah, so that's why I'm looking at them, and they lost a couple of offensive linemen. They have some, again, they've done a nice job of having a succession plan or somebody to step in, but you're going from a really quality center. I say really quality, great English there, Nate. High quality center, and Frank Ragnow, he's gone, and they replace him with a guy that's been a long time kind of spot starter backup type, Graham Glasgow. But it's like one of these things where, say, a Lions fan going like, well, he started a bunch of games. I'm like, yeah, but he's okay. You're going from great to okay. And that's a drop off. Even if he's fine, he's just fine. And then now you're starting a rookie.
Doesn't that matter more for a quarterback like Jared Goff? He's not this elite of the elite. He's more game manager category, right?
You get it. Because that's the thing. That's where quarterbacks can overcome these things. The great ones, the top 6 guys, whatever, 5 guys. The guys like Goff in the Goff tier, the Baker tier, Geno
Smith, like how does he start? Like these crap quarterbacks from 5 years ago are solid now. It just blows my mind.
I know. Wait till we talk about
Jared
Sam Darnold.
Baker, oh my God, what the hell? What is going on?
That must be such a mind scrape for you.
Does not make any sense.
Jacoby Brissett starting for the Patriots. Are like, wait a second.
Crazy. Oh my God. Why is he back?
Yeah. You're like, did he never leave?
Oh my God.
No, but that it matters. Like the succession plan for these guys, and when you don't have a dude at quarterback, that's why I have questions. Even though they have such good, so many high quality players and such talented players at receiver and running back and all this stuff, I think I underrated maybe their defense a little bit on our top 10 defenses show. But it's one of these things. You're still replacing a coordinator. You still have some question marks that I have to see, but the defense I am more optimistic about maybe than I was even a couple weeks ago as I kind of marinated on it. But the offense, it's like they were so good, top of the class. It's just even if there was a natural regression that all these teams face, like, but now you're losing your kind of one of the secret sauce aspects, the Ben Johnson offense coordinator. So that's where I had him at 8th as the offense. But it's just one of these things where it's not number one supernova offense. That's a drop off. That's a big drop off. So I'm a little more, I would say pessimistic, but I do think there's going to be some regression from the team, even if I do think they'll still be good this year.
So the Bengals, 4 years ago, they go to the Super Bowl, they lose, they go to the conference championship the year after that, and they've had 2 9-8 seasons since then. What's one thing they're missing?
One, an entire defense. If it's just one,
good to know. So it's not the offense starters, at all.
10 starters on defense. That's basically it. It really is. We did our AFC North preview this week, and I predicted them to go 9-8 again because I was just kind of going through it and doing the math on it. I'm like, I think their offense is going to be a top offense. I really do. And I think they've insulated themselves well. I think they're going to add layers, yada, yada, yada. But then when we got to the win total part, when we're picking over under wins, I'm like, but why do we feel like the defense will improve? Last year, the offense was great, and this defense was about what it's going to be this year, and they went 9-8. Like, where's the improvement coming from? So I think they're still going to be stuck in this tier. Next year might be a different story. Some of the young guys grow. Maybe the defensive coordinator, Al Golden, does a nice job. But I'm predicting another 8-9, 9-8 season for them. They're really reminding me a lot of the 2010s Saints. Amazing offense. Drew Brees is amazing. Defense stinks, and they go 7-9 every year. That's what they kind of did year in, year out. Or the Ots Colts are a version of this, where Peyton Manning's they're scoring 500 points a year. But depending on how good their defenses was how their season went, up or down. Bob Sanders was great. They would go to the Super Bowl. If they have nothing, they have the 30th defense, and they lose after the first round. So that's kind of where I think this Bengals tier is. They're a fun team, but that defense still needs at least one more year, I think.
If this were NBA media, we'd be saying, should Joe Burrow demand a trade?
See, that's easy. That's the easiest lever to pull. The NFL trades are so hard too, because the contracts are so much funny money that it's like you can kind of create a trade with anybody if you really stick with it. I don't have a trade machine. I could just stick these guys in and go, okay, does that work?
I know it's a lot more complicated with trades. NBA trades have become more complex, but there's always a way. Oh, the second apron, the first apron,
oh my God.
And all these little rules and qualifiers.
Cross-pollinate and learn like other caps and baseball and basketball. Well, baseball doesn't have cap, but there's stuff too, luxury tax and basketball stuff like Larry Kuhn's Q&A, CBA Q&A. That I don't even know he still has it, but I used to study it. But like, I remember going through it all, and I'm like, birds rights, early bird rights. Oh my God. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what MLE? Okay. Have to go through each one.
It's crazy. Like all these different rules. And, with the Warriors right now with Jonathan Kuminga, as I talked about with Grant Liffman earlier on the podcast, like there's just a lot going on still in the NBA because of the new CBA and the new rules that have made it more complicated for restricted free agents. So we'll see what happens with that. But, so Bengals.
And as soon as you figure out, they'll change it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I got it. Then they revise it. So Bengals, no defense. That's the one thing they need is an entire defense.
A lot of it.
Which coach is entering the season on the hottest seat right now?
Oh man, Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins.
Oh, yeah.
He's weird vibes
dude.
there.
He is like got off his rocker.
I
would not want that guy as my head coach. He just feels so.
Yeah, I want him on my staff.
To me.
Not as the head coach. Yeah, it's one of those where everything's great when you're scoring points and winning games, and the NFL or any sport really. What happens when you go on that first losing streak? All right, what happens if you go 2 years in a row and you miss the playoffs? Well, they didn't miss the playoffs last time, but you lose your season because you go on that losing streak. And on top of it, okay, our entire offense, our entire philosophy is we're going to outrun and outspeed everybody. And now we have to turn the dial, and now we're going to try and be tough. You just don't do that overnight. That's a day one philosophy thing. You'd have to bring in a whole new group of personnel. So it's just one of these where I feel like just his time is done there, or like his messaging has, unless they just overhaul the whole thing. So yeah, Mike McDaniel to me is the one on the hot seat. I'm trying, as I've been talking, I'm trying to think of another one, but that was the first one that comes to mind, the easiest one to argue for. So kind of rolling with that one too.
I mean, I see his pressers. He's a strange guy, which no disrespect. Like, people, be true to yourself, but like as a head coach, to be the leader of men. That's where I'm like, I just don't see how that's going to resonate or stick, how that's going to last. Eventually, I think that's going to wear thin on players in a locker room, guys who also have a voice where it's like, this guy is our head coach? I don't know. It's just strange to me. The sunglasses, it's just become a kind of a Miami guy. He's just changed. He seems like he's gone from the geek to the jock in some ways. It's strange.
He's a really smart. I worked with him in Atlanta. He's a really smart guy. He is quirky, and some of that is to disarm you, to play possum a little bit, like kind of go like that. But the thing is, like you just said, but not as a head coach.
Yeah.
Like it's just, like as the coordinator, or as the quarterback coach, or their
Like
run game.
the smart aleck types, that type
Yeah,
of
the
thing.
lieutenant. Yeah, exactly. I don't like it either. Yeah. You can have that as your number two, but not as the number one. I'm in agreement with you. And then once you meet Kyle Shanahan, because him and Kyle Shanahan are very good friends, and you understand because Kyle's different. Kyle's more like never smiles, kind of like more even keeled. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, I can see why you guys end up becoming friends. It's a lot. They have a fun relationship too. Actually, just diving into that, like I think he was the video guy's son in Denver when Kyle's dad was the head coach for the Broncos, Mike Shanahan, and that's how they became friends. And I actually understand that because when my dad was a coach, I was ball boy and I was friends with like the video guy's kid and all that stuff. But he didn't end up becoming a head coach or anything. So sadly,
I don't know anything that changed this offseason. What's the most impactful offseason move? Number one.
Ben Johnson going to the Bears.
Really? I wanted the Patriots to get him. I'm happy with Vrabel, but Ben Johnson was the guy that I was getting all excited about.
That was interesting to me, that whole timeline, because it was Vrabel's job. Like, it was like, hey, we're going to interview other people. But then Ben Johnson they gave Ben Johnson an interview, an in-person one, I believe, as opposed to the Zoom ones he was doing. And then they went, well, we want a second interview with him. And that was interesting to me because it meant, oh, he knocked our socks off. Oh, shoot, we got to change this. Like, okay, are we sure? All right. And they double checked and they went with Vrabel anyways. But also, that should be a really good sign about your quarterback, who I'm really high on, Drake May, that because Ben Johnson was only going to a team with a dude at quarterback. And so really the only three teams that he ended up being a finalist with were New England, Chicago with Caleb Williams, and Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence. All guys that some people are like, oh, really? But it's like he sees the talent and goes, no, I can work with that. So I thought that was interesting too. Like, what did he think of the teams? If I can get $15 million and sign with anybody, and he's supposed to be a really well-read, researched guy, like, okay, what did he think were the teams to go to? And so he went New England, Jacksonville, and Chicago. And I thought that's kind of piqued my interest a little bit. But
interesting. Did he make a good choice with Caleb Williams? He did not have the best rookie season.
And not only just with Caleb, but the rest of the personnel there. They got some receivers. They got some young talent there. The defense is going to be good. Like he also hired a really good defense coordinator, Dennis Allen, who was the head coach with the Saints recently. I love that move because he's going to be an offensive play caller as a head coach. That's a little scary always to me. Okay, new play caller, my first time being a head coach. First time being a head coach, and I'm still going to call plays. That's just a lot on a guy. And while I think he can handle it, he seems like a sharp guy. I love that he went, I'm going to hire a veteran defense coordinator. You got it. And now I don't have to worry about it. And you're a former head coach. So those little things, again, this is kind of narrative scouting with this. I like those signs, though. He hired a veteran offensive line coach. I like that they made a bunch of moves to acquire offensive linemen, and not just offensive linemen in theory or like, just because it's different doesn't mean it's better. Charles McDonald, my co-host, used that line, and I always like that. Like, just because it's different doesn't mean it's good. But they actually acquired guys that had talent and actually are going to be upgrades. So there's all these little things that I'm like, okay, I think you get it. Like, and again, I might be putting the cart before the horse. He hasn't coached one single game, but these are the signs I want to see. Like, it's just these little things. I'm like, okay, it's not Nathaniel Hackett with the Broncos. It's where I'm like, oh, this is the opposite of what I want to see. So Ben Johnson to the Bears is very significant to me. But, there's other players, like minor players going to the teams too, but that's more like my quirky fun. It's not the most impactful thing. It's more like, oh, that's fun. Like Mykel Williams going to the 49ers draft pick, yada, yada, yada.
Now, the Patriots. I mentioned earlier, I was very fortunate. I'm born in 1990. I was born at the perfect time to become a sports fan.
A Boston fan, period.
A Boston sports fan. I mean, like I've experienced more winning than many will ever have in multiple lifetimes. Very spoiled growing up. I've felt the highs and lows of the Patriots dynasty all through the years. And Tom Brady last year gets his jersey retired. This year, today, tomorrow, Friday, he's having his statue revealed outside of Gillette Stadium. And I hope to God it looks 10 times better, nowhere as bad as Dwayne Wade's statue in Miami, which is the worst statue ever in history. So I hope they perfectly, replicate Tom Brady and his beauty as a quarterback and as a winner and as the GOAT and as a human. So, as you can see,
I'm not sure if you're a Patriots fan or not.
I'm a Tom Brady fan and a Patriots fan. So I mean, Tom Brady, I'm very happy. I look forward to seeing how that happens. But I love that dude. He's part of what made me such a big sports fan over the years. Watching him win, watching him lead. I remember his famous quote where he quoted his old, I think, equipment manager at Michigan, where he said, "What's your favorite ring? The next one." And I think he always embodied that with his work ethic. So I think it's awesome that Tom Brady's going to get this honor. What's your favorite Tom Brady moment from his career, Nate?
Oh my God. One of the highlight that always sticks out to me. Well, the whole 2007 season, when they acquired, because I grew up with Randy Moss with the Vikings, and so when he goes to Oakland, he gets traded there, kind of goes to the nether realm that is the Oakland Raiders. Now they're Vegas, but goes to the Patriots, and they played the Dolphins in that first month. I want to say first month or 5-6 weeks of the season, and Tom Brady because Tom Brady up until that point was whether it was fair or not, we've learned that it was known as a game manager. Oh, he's really good. Just their defense first. They run the ball, yada, yada, yada.
I used to argue with people on a forum years ago. I'm like 12, 13, 14 years old, arguing about Tom Brady versus Trent Green.
Oh,
that was the discussion on forums back then.
Because Trent Green was a game manager and on some loaded Chiefs offenses too. That's fun. See, and
then 07 comes and he shows who he is. The GOAT
actually is. Yeah. Well, I mean, shoot, I grew up around Dante Culpepper in 02, 03, 04, 05. I love every single person would have gone, oh, Dante Culpepper over Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And then now if you said that, everyone would be like, what? Who's Dante Culpepper? Like, it's just...
I used to play as the Vikings in Madden. Yeah. Culpepper to Moss. Just...
The greatest Madden team ever. Everybody's fast. It was like by design. That's how my dad built those teams. Everybody's 99 speed. Let's go. Great Madden teams. That first month they played the Dolphins and Tom just let it rip. He threw one to Randy Moss in like triple coverage. And it was like this deep post over route. He should not have thrown it. And you can tell Tom Brady's like, this is fun. I can just unpin grenades and launch it. And I remember I was a freshman in college at UCF. I transferred to Wisconsin after that year. But my freshman year, and I'm sitting in my dorm. I think we had a game. Oh, no, that was a Sunday, obviously, so we didn't. Must have had a workout. I come back. I remember just watching that throw. And I'm like, Tom Brady's just launching stuff down the field. I was like, oh, it's Randy. Duh. But that play, and it's just a random play, but that one's the one that always sticks out to me. A funny one is when he tells Gronk to stand up. Do you remember that little clip? He goes, Gronk's in a 3-point stance, and he goes, Gronk, stand up. And Gronk just stands up right away. And those little things, like there's a little minor plays that stand out to me, but like that Dolphins game is just like a vivid memory of like Tom Brady, like the new Tom Brady that we all know now. But that in 2007, that was a big change, big mind shift for everybody to go like, oh my God, this is what you can do. We didn't know this. So yeah, I would say that maybe, I don't know if it's a moment, but the 2007 season, and he almost hit that Hail Mary against the Giants. And he threw that ball like 80 yards to Randy.
Oh my God, dude.
And that throw also is always burning in my brain because again, I didn't know Tom Brady could throw the ball 75 yards.
It's burned into mine too, Nate. It is burned into mine too. You know how many times I've watched the highlights? I've watched the entire fourth quarter because I like to hurt myself. Apparently, just so many moments. The 4th and 1, Brandon Jacobs, Asante Samuel on the sideline. You idiot!
Everything
dropping the interception. Just so many moments in that game. I still can't believe
you remember all the losses
twice. Lost to Eli twice. You kidding me?
and they'll never let you forget. At least it's New York fans, and they don't like to talk crap at all. So it's like
it's crazy. But I think part of it though is like I think as a sports fan, sometimes experiencing the losing is what leads to greater satisfaction with the winning. Like it was different winning the first Super Bowl because like I'm just a kid, but also, it was like a new quarterback, new team. Like it was like a magical story, the dynasty winning 3 and 4 years and all that. It was beautiful, right? But then losing for a long time until winning the next 3. And then the fashion in which they did, Malcolm Butler against Seattle, of course, 28-3 against Atlanta, just like in historic, like memorable fashion, just amazing games, like some of the greatest games in sports history. Like to me, like I think the moment I will always remember most is down 28-3 in the third quarter. I'm watching the game to my dad, and I turn to him. I'm like, we got Tom Brady. Like, we still have a chance. And my dad's like, I don't know. Like, it's very unlikely, but we got Tom Brady. And that was the belief Tom Brady instilled in you as a fan and with
Yeah.
his teammates, where it's like, you got this guy. You feel like you get a chance. You just feel like you have a chance. Mahomes does that now with the Chiefs. When you have
Yep.
Stephen Curry in the NBA, you feel like you have that. There's just these rare talents where it's like you always feel like you still can win the game no matter what the score is. And I think it was that moment where it was like just
That's
crystallized
it.
everything and like who he is as a player. And like it's just that
Competitor.
moment being down 28-3 that I always remember turning to my dad saying like, we still got a chance because we got Tom Brady. Saw it so many
It's
times
so
before.
true. It's that's what I try to explain with the difference between the guys, the quarterbacks that are good, and what I always say, the dudes, like the guys that are actually in that upper echelon, which to me is only three. And then Burrow is just on the cusp of it to me, but I think it's Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and just because of what you said there, down or it's a 2-minute drill, they have no timeouts, minute 10 left, and they need a field goal. Who's quarterback? Josh Allen, Mahomes, Lamar. Oh, okay, they're going to get it. Like, I'm more surprised that they don't get the field goal than if they do, which most quarterbacks say, like we brought up, Jared Goff, or, even Jalen Hurts. Some of the other guys that I consider more the middle tier, I'd be like, we'll see. Hopefully a guy breaks a tackle here. But that's what guys like Tom Brady and those guys, that's what they do. It's not automatic, but they make it feel automatic. It's the Steph Curry discussion as well. He's pulling up a 30-footer with, as the shot clock's running out or the quarter's running out. It's like, yeah, that's going in. Like the fact that they can warp your brain to go like, going from to like, no, that's going in. Like that's what the dudes do. Like, and that's, yeah, Brady is one of the dudes, all-time dudes, obviously.
And with Lamar, we'll see if he can do it in the playoffs as well.
Playoffs, yes, that's the thing. That's
the
different
big
discussion.
question this year with the Ravens. Speaking about the playoffs, you're a fan of the team that has lost 2 Western Conference Finals in a row in the Minnesota Timberwolves, but they're
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards still in his young 20s, still on the up and up. What's on your mind with Minnesota entering the season, Nate?
Well, they lost NAW, Alexander Walker, and so really it's more like watching these playoff losses, like watching talk about also the journey. I've experienced a lot of losing with my teams. I'm a Timberwolves and Seattle Mariners fan, so it's pretty fun right now to actually be able to like talk and be like, oh, who are they drafting next year? Hopefully we get a lottery pick. Actually like focusing on this, but like how they replace NAW as a 3-and-D guy is something kind of grasps me. And what's kind of cool is I think they have guys on the roster that are going to step up. I think I messaged you this as well. But that's kind of what I'm focusing on, because when I watched those playoffs last year, they need someone else that can. They need to let Anthony play off ball in the playoff time, and especially what the Thunder did to them. And the year before that against Dallas, Anthony got worn out as the series went along. Kyrie was taking them to the cleaners for a little bit there because he was trying to do so much on offense, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm picking up Kyrie too." And it's like, well, it's playoffs. You got to focus on one, and then maybe you can step up with the other. So when I'm watching this team, it's like, what are these auxiliary creators? I think maybe is what I'm focusing on. Who is the backup guard? Point guard, I should say, behind Mike Conley. Like that's a big discussion too, and also part of this as well. So I'm focused on these young guys, TJ Shannon, Rob Dillingham, and it's like those guys becoming contributors this year is kind of makes or break the season because they need those auxiliary creators, auxiliary scorers, guys that can do stuff with the ball in their hands a little bit. So that's really, I watched every summer league game like it was all 22 film for football. I say I have every Timberwolves game recorded on YouTube TV, and I'm pouring through that stuff and going like, okay, all right. Oh, I didn't really like that, Rob. Okay, that was good there. And so that's what I'm watching, is what these young auxiliary creators can kind of do this year, because if they step up, then I'm very excited.
It's not a perfect comparison, but like you guys signed Bones Highland to a 2-way contract, and he's interesting because when Denver won the finals the first year, their GM at the time traded Bones Highland midseason because Michael Malone, the head coach of the Nuggets at the time, loved Bones Highland, but he was blocking Christian Brown from playing minutes. Christian Brown ended up playing a pivotal role for the Nuggets as a rotation guy, as a rookie in their run to the NBA Finals, and they win it. With Minnesota last year, I felt like a lot of the time Finch was just like leaning on the older guys. Like you didn't see a lot of Terrence Shannon, you didn't see a lot of
Yeah.
Rob Dillingham, and I feel like they lose Nickeil Alexander-Walker, which is a loss. But the fact they didn't sign like this clear-cut vet, like here's our backup point guard, here's our new wing. It says to me that Tim Conley, the Wolves GM, is like, okay, Finch, you have no choice. You're gonna play the youth. You're going to play the young guys. You're going to play the young guys, whether you like it or not, because these are the best options for you coming off the bench behind our starters. And I think that's the right approach, because with Dillingham, with Terrence Shannon, like even to an extent, Jalen Clark, who I do like these guys are like, we saw Terrence Shannon have some good minutes for Minnesota in the playoffs. In the playoffs. After not playing really at all during the regular season.
against the Thunder. It wasn't even the first round.
No kidding. Exactly. And he had some good moments. And then with Dillingham, like he's a small guard. He's like 6'1", 6'2", without shoes. They traded, up in the first round to number 8 to get him. So clearly Tim Conley, who is a great talent evaluator, identified Dillingham as a guy who can someday be the replacement for Mike Conley. And in the meantime, being a guy who can be a spark off the bench and maybe a guy that can play heavy minutes for you despite his lack of size. And I think that's what's interesting with the way the Minnesota's building this kind of whole thing out, because all summer they're trying to get Kevin Durant. They're putting Rudy Gobert on the table, and then they draft 2 bigs. They had Berenger in the first round and Zakarinsky in the second round. So they draft 2 7-footers. Berenger, who looked really good defensively in Summer League. I'm sure you're
I'm fired up, man.
Yeah.
I'm so
You're feeling
fired
really
up.
good.
He moves like a star. Like I can't get
God.
like I say I cross-pollinate and try and study other things. Like he moves like a star. So I'm like, okay, I know he's 18. You'll probably barely, he's the 4th big this year, whatever. But it's like, no, that I'm good with this. Like this guy does not move like a 18-year-old and growing into his body and figuring out his limbs. It's like this guy moves like how the really good players move. I know there's a long way to go, but I'm like, yeah, that was fun. That was a fun summer league for an 18-year-old that I watched 5 minutes of before the draft.
He's really, really raw. I mean, like he looked like a guy that you can feel good about in the future. Like with Gobert, he becomes not tradable yet because you still need Rudy Gobert with his defense to be, anything relevant on the defensive end of the floor. But if Berenger and these guys eventually become quality NBA players, it gives them more flexibility as they build around Dillingham, Edwards, and Shannon, and these guys you'd hope in the years to come. So, I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic about Minnesota despite losing Alexander Walker because of my belief in Dillingham and Shannon as players. It's just a matter of, is Finch going to invest in those guys, even if it means short-term pain for long-term gain? I think that's what Minnesota's going to have to deal with, where maybe you don't have as high of a seed, but that's what's tough in the West, man. Like the West is so loaded. You do need to focus on winning in the regular season, or else you're the 7th seed or the 8th seed, and then you're fighting to get in the playoffs. It's so hard, man. But ultimately, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about Minnesota, Nate.
Last year, after a bunch of guys got hurt, Julius Randle and others got hurt, the changes they made after that, it was like, oh, Finch is good. Like, it was just they kind of remolded the guys' roles and kind of just shifted a few things around. So that was about February-ish. And I would say that was when I was like, because I was the first month or so of the season, I was like, we're going to miss the playoffs. Like, oh my God. Like I was expecting another run here, at least a playoff series win. And then, the end of the season, they were one of the hottest teams and they're doing so well on both sides of the floor. But your whole point about the GM forcing the coach to play players, that is a cross-sport, cross-league thing that happens so much. It happens in football all the time because coaches are so scared of losing their jobs. They're like, I don't want to start this 3rd-round rookie. And then it's like, well, you have to. Sorry, figure it out.
No choice. Make it happen.
Make it happen. Figure it out.
You know what? Sometimes it ends up for the best because you see OKC win the title with a bunch of young guys that they invested in. Denver, the year they won it, Christian Brown as a rookie as part of the rotation had some good moments. Yeah. Sometimes it's worth the investments to do that. But Nate, thanks for joining me today, man. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was a blast. I'm glad. Got a little cross sports in there, so that felt good.
Hell yeah, man. We'll do this again during the season. Where can we find your stuff, Nate?
Oh, of course, on Yahoo. Yes, I just wrote about what to look for in the preseason on each game. Really just an excuse to talk about Shedeur for a minute. Shedeur Sanders. But no, you can find it on Yahoo. You can find me on social media at Nate_Tice on X, and also Nate Tice on Blue Sky. So all that good stuff right there. I'm The clips are coming. We got some preseason games coming, so you'll start seeing a lot of football all 22 clips coming out.
Beautiful, Nate. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a good day.
Thanks for having me.